Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for March 19th. March 19th is the 78th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 79th in leap years, with 287 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is ka. This is another one of those words that does not appear in Merriam-Webster, and my research uncovers that it has several different meanings, although some of those meanings seem to be related. So let's dive in. The first thing that shows up is that Cirque du Soleil is currently running a show called Ka. Cirque du Soleil, if you don't know, are an entertainment group who produce what they call contemporary circus acts. Rather than clown cars and elephants in huge tents, they do shows that I'd call more of an acrobatic ballet with fabulous costuming and a plot. Their show Ka predicts a story of imperial twins who are separated in the prime of their youth and must undergo a rite of passage of self-discovery. The story is about their encounters with Ka, the fire that has the dual power to destroy or illuminate. The show Ka is currently running in Las Vegas. The author Stephen King has a series of books known as the Dark Tower series that include special language called high speech that includes, among other things, the word Ka. The descriptions or explanations that I can find for the word Ka is that it is like a wheel whose only purpose is to turn. Ka, while also described as destiny or fate, may be a guide or a destination, but it is not a strict plan. One can try to avoid or avert one's Ka, but Ka will be achieved or fulfilled one way or another. Britannica gives what I think is the most interesting clues. It is that in ancient Egyptian religion, the Ka, along with a couple of other aspects, is a principal aspect of the soul of a human being or of a god, the life force or spiritual power that lived within the body of a person and survived death. The concept is depicted by a hieroglyph of uplifted arms and seems to be related to protecting the divine spirit of a person. Ka is considered to survive the death of the body and may have been believed to reside in a picture or statue of the person. There's also a related term, Ka Tet, that means a group of people bound together by fate or destiny. In other circles, I've heard of such a group referred to as a soul group. Today's word Ka was suggested by YouTube viewer Lynn Creamer. Thanks, Lynn. And remember, if you have a word you'd like to see in this Word of the Day segment, drop it in the comments. We'll take a look at it. And with that, this is the birthday of Wyatt Earp, born March 19th, 1848. He was an American businessman and law enforcement officer back in the days of the American Wild West. He was all over that American Old West. Wichita, Dodge City, Kansas, Texas, Tombstone, and the Arizona Territory, and he took part in the famous gunfight at the OK Corral. Quite a guy, Wyatt Earp. In his later years, he moved to Los Angeles, where he got to know and work with some of the early Western actors in Hollywood. Wyatt Earp died in Los Angeles in 1929 when he was 80 years old. Speaking of cowboys, this is the birthday of Charles Marion Russell, born March 19, 1864. Also known as C.M. Russell, Charlie Russell, Kid Russell, or the cowboy artist, he was an artist of the American Old West and created more than 2,000 paintings of cowboys, Native Americans, and landscapes, as well as bronze sculptures. Nice work. So when you're looking at art, look for that artist's signature. And if you see the name Russell, consider whether it might be the work of Charles Marion Russell, whose birthday is today. And if you're ever in or around the area of Great Falls, Montana, look for the C.M. Russell Museum Complex, where you can see some of his artworks, personal objects, and artifacts. There are also a couple of museums here in Fort Worth that have some of Russell's work. He lived to the age of 62. In 1918, the United States Congress established time zones and approved daylight saving time on March 19, 1918. As Elvis Presley's career began to take off in the 1950s, of course fans found his house and would gather outside. It didn't take long for the neighbors to get about a hatful of that, all those people hanging around. So Elvis asked his parents to look for a place on a plot of land so they'd have some buffer space around the house. They found a lovely colonial revival-style mansion that had been built in 1939 by descendants of the original landowner who had named the property after his daughter Grace. Elvis Presley made a down payment on the Graceland mansion on March 19, 1957. When Elvis et al. Acquired Graceland, it was a good bit outside of Memphis, but Memphis, as cities will do, grew out to the estate and surrounded it and beyond, so that now Graceland is in the middle of a bunch of other properties. In case you're curious, Elvis bought Graceland for $102,000 in 1957. In last year's episode, we talked about a word, whales, the invention and popularization of movies, time zones, Patrick McGowan, gambling in Nevada, C-SPAN, Bob Dylan, and a song. And if you'd like to check that out, I'll leave a link for you. Given that mention of Graceland today, what if we talk about an Elvis song? Guinness Book of World Records recognizes Elvis Presley as the best-selling solo artist in the world, somewhere around 500 million records sold globally. He made 22 studio albums, 8 live albums, 13 compilation albums, 29 extended play records, 18 soundtrack albums, 30 box sets, 115 posthumous compilations, and 11 remix albums. Never mind the Partridge in the Pear Tree. Besides that, he released 117 singles during his lifetime, and 24 more were released posthumously, so there's certainly a lot to choose from. But I'll just tell you that when his name came up today, the song that started playing in my mind was Love Me Tender. Written by George Polton and Ken Darby, Love Me Tender was released by Elvis Presley in September of 1956 and hit number 1 before the year was out. Couple of interesting points of trivia regarding Love Me Tender. The lyrics for Love Me Tender were credited to Vera Mason, but her husband Ken Darby actually wrote the lyrics. The melody is from an 1800s ballad called Aura Lee, which was written by an Englishman named George Polton. Mr. Polton only lived to the age of 38, but Aura Lee became very popular during the American War between the states, often referred to as the Civil War, and was a staple of college glee clubs and barbershop quartets. As the tune had come into public domain by 1956, it was given new lyrics and released as Love Me Tender by Elvis Presley, with a movie of the same name. Elvis's version has been featured in many films and television shows, covered by other artists, most notably Richard Chamberlain and Percy Sledge. Now, I've found a version of Aura Lee sung by Jim Reeves for you, and of course, Love Me Tender by Elvis Presley, and those links are in the description. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that's called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. This is the birthday.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
I wasn't talking to you. Me and my mouth. John, are you kidding me? Okay, hold on. We got to make that be quiet. You got to read the black part. Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for, where's your microphone? Okay, we don't want to say the same thing twice. Get your microphone. What is it with you and this microphone? Okay, here we go. That's great. Okay. How about that? We'll have a lot to edit today. Cacophony is a sound. Oh, cacophony is a noun that you got to read it the right way. Let's start over. It's 8 o'clock, so all of the reminders are going to be dinging. I forgot to turn those off. Okay, stop it. It's 8 o'clock. Don't alienate people who can be helpful to you. Flinging happiness all over the place. Alrighty, back to work. I think we got it this time.